Development Manager at Soto Property Solutions. Some of you may recognize me from the Zoom meetings. I am there almost every Friday, along with Soto Property Solutions owner and broker, Dave Soto. So I'm here tonight to tell you a little bit about property management and what advantages there are to hiring a property management versus managing yourself. So I'm going to talk a little bit about property management itself and what exactly property management is, and then I'll circle back around to the advantages and benefits of hiring a property manager. Soto Property Solutions has been in business since 2008, and we are a full service brokerage, which means we can help you with any of your real estate needs. However, our specialty and expertise is in property management. So what exactly is property management? So we handle everything when it comes to your investment properties from start to finish. We make it super simple and easy for all of our clients, and they get to be totally hands-off when it comes to finding a tenant, leasing, managing, overseeing everything. We do it all for you. So first, we get the property move-in ready. We do any turnover work, make-ready work, painting, cleaning, all of that stuff. We'll install smoke alarms, get it up to city code, and get it move-in ready. We will also schedule and set up an inspector meeting and meet the inspectors there at the property. So once it's move-in ready, we will market it. We take great pictures. We also take 360 photos and move-in or walkthrough videos. So if someone's out of town or can't see it, they can look at the video and essentially see the layout and everything about the property. And then we blast it out to over 50 websites, and that's including Facebook. And that is a big one because Facebook is where we are getting a lot of leads lately. We do in-person showings with anybody who schedules a showing with us, and we do pre-screen them before meeting them at the properties. So once someone is applied, we handle the screening process, and we are pretty strict on our screening process. We do credit check, background check. You have to show proof of employment. We will call the employers. We will call the previous landlords to make sure they have no evictions and they're on good standings. We check CaseNet and social media as well, and we even screen the pets to make sure that the pets are good, nice pets before allowing them to live in the property. So once someone is approved, we handle the entire move-in process. We collect and hold the security deposits in an escrow account. We do walkthrough inspections before, during, and after a tenant moves in and out. That way we know and have documents of what can be taken out of their security deposit. We collect the rents. We charge late fees if necessary, and we will track down the tenant and figure out what's going on if they haven't paid the rent. Every month, we send the owners direct deposit, and then you would also get an owner statement going over all the details of all the incoming and outgoing money of the month, along with copies of any invoices that are on the statement. Owners and tenants both have online portals, so you can always reference that, get on there, look at leases and your statements from months ago if need be. We oversee and handle all maintenance items with licensed, insured, and reliable vendors. And if eviction ever does happen, unfortunately it does, we would handle all of that. We speak to the attorney, we file with the attorney, we get the attorney all the paperwork, and we'll even go to court if it gets that far on your behalf when it comes to evictions. At the end of the year, we do tax preparation. We'll get you a 1099 and a yearly statement of a breakdown of everything throughout the year. And then we also manage HOAs and commercial buildings if you're ever in need of that. So what's the advantage of using us, a property manager, versus managing yourself? One thing is that we at Soto Property Solutions offer 11 guarantees at no additional cost to you. And this helps guide you and protect you when it comes to your investment properties and your rentals and when it comes to tenants. A really big one is that we are licensed real estate agents in the state of Missouri. A lot of people don't know that if you're managing other people's properties besides your own, that you have to be a licensed agent. If you're not, it's illegal. So it's really great that we are licensed and we're also regulated by the MREC, which is Missouri Real Estate Commission. Being licensed, we are also very involved with both local and state associations of real estate. So with that, that means we're very knowledgeable and up to date with the ever-changing rules and regs and laws of property management and real estate. We are NARPM members, which is National Association of Residential Property Managers. In order to be a certified member with them, you have to take additional classes and pass an additional test that is specific to property management. So that gives us a little bit of a leg up when it comes to property management and having the extra schooling. We have over 15 years of experience, and that's a big one. We know what we're doing. We know the property management world. That's our expertise. We have a 24/7 answering service, which is super great. So the tenants aren't calling you at 2 a.m. with something that may or may not be an emergency. We have an answering service that's going to be on call, and they're going to answer any calls that come through at 2 a.m. So we also have the most up-to-date tools and software that makes it easier for everybody involved: owners, tenants, vendors, us, everybody. We have bookkeeping and accounting. We handle all of that, so you guys don't have to do it. We have an accountant in our office that handles all of that stuff, and you get statements every month. So you're not gonna have to be doing on a calculator and all that. We handle it for you. We have solid relationships with vendors, contractors, attorneys, and other real estate professionals. If you have an investment property, you know that it's a full-time job. So the most valuable thing that we can offer you as a property manager is your time. It's a full-time job. You can rest easy knowing that we handle everything from start to finish. We handle the tenant headaches, the day-to-day stuff, tracking down the vendors, figuring everything out. So you can focus on you and your family and your time, knowing that we have everything covered. That's all. Did anybody have any questions? Oh, I think actually they're going to pass around a microphone so everyone on Zoom can hear. So.
Your fee and how many properties do you guys manage?
So we're close to 600. We just signed on a large account today, actually. So
she just signed on one.
But yeah, we're pretty close to 600 properties. Our main office is in Cape Girardeau, so we do all of the SEMO area, and then we also have an office in St. Louis and all of that. St. Louis, we have 160 doors.
Fee.
So that's
our fee. Sorry, do you mind?
Okay. That's interesting you ask that, because that's one of the first things people ask is the fee, and I'm just curious as to why that's the first question, because you're looking for somebody that's going to handle hundreds of thousands of dollars of your property, and the lowest bidder is probably not the best person to go to. Our fees are based on it's typically about 10% of any income we bring in. But we have other fees that we also collect.
You're at tier, what you charge per what you do?
No.
Go ahead.
You're not, okay, when you say tier, I'm thinking about, one of the questions that somebody's asked me is, I have all these properties, can I get a discount? It's not the number of properties you have, because if that were the case, I can give everybody a discount because I have a lot of properties. It's the rent that comes in. If we get paid per rent, right? Rents, how much have rents gone up in the past 15 years? Yeah. So my payroll, my beginning payroll for somebody coming in has gone up 40% in the past 15 years. My software cost has gone up 38% in the past 15 years. My insurance has doubled. That's my repairs and emissions, my general liability insurance, right? That's doubled. My realtor dues have doubled. So when you're talking about give me a discount for more properties, that's kind of hard to do.
I'm not necessarily talking about discount, I just wanted to know what's your fee, I mean.
So again, we go back to the fact that it's based on the rent, so the higher the rent, we have to come up with a tier. If rent's coming in at $1,500 a month, we can bring down our management fees. So that's where the economy scale is not the number of properties, it's the rent.
But typically, our monthly fee is 10% a month, and then to lease out a unit, 75 to 100%. And that's just a one-time fee of the first month's rent, and that to cover marketing, showings, all of that stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I think one behind you.
How do you handle, like if there's any repairs that have to be made, how's that, how's that cost applied towards the owner of the home? Or is that already included in the 10%?
That is included in the 10, well, no, you would have to, we oversee the maintenance, but you would still pay it. So we would essentially pay it for you though. So the tenant pays rent and say their garbage disposal breaks. We send a vendor over, they fix the garbage disposal, we pay that invoice with the rent, and then after that's, you get the money on the 15th of the month after invoices and our commissions paid. No, we would. Yeah, so we would still handle it, but we would alert you and talk to you about it and say, hey, that you got a big bill coming up, you know, you might have to send money or you can pay them with credit card, but we would essentially handle it and pay it for you.
What about the big ticket items like an air conditioner, a roof? You know, I would probably want to be involved as far as what unit to put in there, you know, just rather than say it's a cheap unit in colors and things like that. So how do you handle things like that?
Yeah, so if we have a maintenance reserve and a maintenance limit, both of them are at $1,000. So anything over $1,000, we're gonna contact you, we're gonna get multiple bids, we're gonna discuss everything with you before moving forward.
Do you have a minimum amount of properties that you have to have in order to manage?
Nope.
Is there any particular area that you specialize in as far as the area in St. Louis, St. Charles? How far out do you go, and do you go pretty much anywhere then? Or what is your area?
Yeah, pretty much. We don't have many properties in North City, but pretty much all over St. Louis. I say St. Charles, St. Peter's is probably the furthest we would go, and then anything between there all the way down to Sikeston, Missouri on the east side of the state.
Actually, Charleston now that you brought that.
Is that further? Okay. Charleston, I don't know if anyone's familiar, but a couple, 30 minutes south of Cape Girardeau. We'll go all the way down.
Ian's got one online here.
Yeah.
Let's see. Can you tell us how Soto handles tenant phone calls, i.e. do you troubleshoot with the tenant, and can you give an example?
Are you talking about maintenance? We should talk about maintenance. If it's maintenance, one of the things that we have in one of our programs that we use is pretty nice is that depending on what it is, we actually can point them to a YouTube video and see if they can take care of it themselves. That's going to save you money because it's going to be, if the tenant, it's something simple, tenant can save themselves, pop the breaker on the garbage disposal, things like that. So clog sinks would probably be a tenant charge anyway, but those types of things. But yeah, we have contacted and do diagnosis with them over the phone, or actually the system points them to where they can listen to a YouTube video and take care of something.
Good. It's amazing what you can find on YouTube these days. Huh?
Yeah.
You can find out how to do just about anything or fix anything.
Okay, curious. I know a lot of maintenance companies who's like 90% automated or whatever. Do you guys have people that actually man phones, or is you guys like completely automated? And so just kind of curious. And what is your staff size?
So we Yes, we have people in the office daily that answer the phones and talk with tenants and potential tenants and vendors and everything, including our maintenance technicians that work in-house. How many people?
15.
I was gonna say right
15.
around 15.
So I had a problem with a management company that, they was just not they wouldn't return my phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that was the biggie with me.
Yeah, so that's actually.
Say I no longer deal with them.
Yeah, so that's actually one of our guarantees. We should have brought those flyers as well and printed them out. But one of our guarantees is a 12-hour response time. So it's 12 business hours, so typically about a day and a half. If you reach out to us and we don't respond within those 12 business hours, you get that month of management fees regarding that property waived.
So let's say I had a little house in Ellsbury, Missouri. Would you manage that? Because it's not really close to anything, as an example.
That's up by Troy, isn't it? Or past Troy?
Yeah, it's right on 79, up near Hannibal area. I mean, it's out in
Yeah.
the middle of nowhere.
I'm from Hannibal, actually, so I'm familiar. But yeah, that might be a little out of our service area.
Okay, so you're more in the bigger cities than,
Yeah, but it from St. Charles, St. Peter's down south, close to the river.
so is there any management company that manages any of those outlying towns?
Not that I know of. I mean, I'm sure there's gotta be somebody, I'm sure there's probably a property manager in Troy or maybe Hannibal that would travel for the right property, but I don't know any off the top of my head.
I was just wondering, because there are investors that buy a lot of properties in those outlying areas, and I'm trying to figure out how they manage all that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know.
So there's one resource where you can look. We're members of the National Association of Residential Property Managers. They do have online where you can find a property manager, so that'd be a good source to see if there's any up there. I don't know of any, but there could be.
Okay.
What's your policy regarding homes that already have tenants? And
So we will take over and manage those properties. Just as soon as we start collecting money is when the management fees would start. And we would, if the tenant's already there, we're not gonna charge a leasing fee or anything like that until the tenant moves out and we place a new tenant.
Hello, Doug Augustine. So I have a question on regards to the placement of tenants and the guarantee. Within a certain amount of time, they quit paying rent, you got your fee on the first month.
So
Yeah, so the, so we don't get paid unless you get paid. So if the tenant bails, we're not getting any income. Neither are you, we understand that. Yeah, but we do charge a leasing fee, and what we will do is, depending on how far out the tenant has gone, we will prorate that leasing fee, so you're not gonna pay a full leasing fee again to find a new tenant. I can't say that we don't make guarantees that the tenant won't bail on you, because we don't know. We do the best we can on screening tenants, and sometimes it's a little frustrating that we get a ton of applications on a property, but they're not quality tenants. And one of the things that we do is that we understand that it's not our property, it's your property, and we don't want to take a chance on somebody that's not going to be a good fit. So one of the other things that we do, if a tenant has to leave, they get a job transfer or something like that, they can do a lease buyout, which is, I want to say 3 months of rent that they're giving up. They got to pay 3 months of rent, so it's 2 months of rent and forfeit their security deposit. And then that is not, it's lease buyout, so it's a fee that they're paying to terminate their lease, and hopefully we'll get a new tenant in there, and then you actually come out ahead. So.
And another question, please. Shared vendors. You might be calling the same people that I might call my existing vendors. Are you doing a markup on the same people that would respond to my properties?
We haven't talked about shared vendors, but I'd have to figure out how we do that. So.
And then your maintenance crew, what are they all about in their training and their continuation of employment? Or They certified in certain techniques, or are they just handyman, or are we
So the-
pulling people up with thumbtack or DoorDash, or what are we expecting on people that
So,
are working on these services?
so in the St. Louis market, we don't have enough properties to have our in-house maintenance people, so we do subcontract out for that, so yeah, we're doing that. Our people down in southeast Missouri, majority of them are just general maintenance people. We have a air conditioning certified person on staff, but other than that, if it requires specialty, we will contract that out.
Yeah, along those lines, we have our own people, are you guys flexible with that?
So we are. One condition is that understand that the tenant is working with us, we're the face that they're seeing. So because we do have owners that do that, if they don't respond, we're gonna take over and get that taken care of, because the tenant has to be taken care of.
Sure.
So the same thing, you're saying your property manager didn't respond, if the owner doesn't respond, it makes us look bad to the tenant,
Okay.
and we get the bad reviews, so we will jump in and take over. But
Sure.
if we've got a good relationship,
Mhm.
not a problem. Our system is set up that we can do that.
Okay,
When it's called meld, because the program is called property meld. When a tenant opens a meld, if it's your property, it's instructed to hand off the call to you.
okay, all right, and then, I'm assuming you guys have you have a lease?
Yes.
Okay, how flexible are you with, the owners wanting to, implement some of their,
No,
no?
here's the issue. I mean, there might be something we can do, but for the most part, like she said, we're regulated by the Real Estate Commission. Our lease has to be approved by an attorney. Most property managers, I'm gonna say most, but a lot of them use Missouri Realtors lease. As a matter of fact, I was on task force and was driving back towards Springfield to go over that lease and fine tune it and make changes. We have to update it all the time. For example, marijuana, recreational marijuana, what are we gonna do with that? We have to add that into our lease. My lease, I have an attorney review any change that has to be reviewed. If I get audited, they want to see that was approved by an attorney.
Okay, all right.
It's
And
really,
then to
really for your
piggyback on
protection.
that, it's, once we start tweaking one thing but not the other, some staff member may not know, and they may not apply that in the lease, and it just kind of things start falling through the cracks and it gets kind of messy.
How lengthy is your lease?
For lengthy?
Yeah.
It's,
I mean, my lease is 15 pages.
yeah, it's about 14 pages.
Okay, all right. So you probably cover a lot of things I probably have in mind. I mean, my lease has grown over the years.
Yes, same thing.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
typical. We learn things that, my favorite one was and we're down in southeast Missouri also, in Cape Girardeau, Southeast Missouri University, and we had tenants take off for the winter, turn off the furnace,
Sure,
burst pipes,
yes.
try charging for it. Mommy comes and says, you can't charge these boys, they didn't know any difference. They're from Michigan.
They knew.
So we ended up putting in our lease that make sure you cannot turn off your heat during the winter time.
Sure, okay, very good.
I have a question about the final tenant selection process. How do you finalize and present the tenant to the owner? Is it like one candidate, or is it three, does the owner, who makes the final decision?
I make the final decision. And that's why we say we're full service property management. Yeah. Like I said, we're full service. If you think about this, I've got over 130 different owners. They're from all over the country. We used to have a couple of international owners, and they're completely hands off. And like Stacy said, on the 15th of the month, you get an email saying we've deposited money into your checking account, and your statement is online, ready for your review. So, and again, that's going back to the hands-off type situation that we're looking for as much as we can, because if you start getting hands-on, then we've got problems, because that's not in our normal process. We've built these processes for a number of years. I think we're doing pretty good with them, and we're doing the best we can. So again, we go back to the fact that I approve the tenants. We screen them. We do a lot of work to screen them. But we've had tenants that have been tenants with us for years. They've had a problem, all of a sudden situation changed, and they get evicted. So we do the best we can to screen them, but it doesn't mean that they don't slip through the cracks.
So, what is your,
What is the most common payment for the tenant to make the payment, the monthly payment, and then what is the preferred?
You mean how they pay the rent?
Right.
Over 90% of our tenants pay rent online through our platform. They're either set up to automatically pay, or they go on each month and pay. So it's pretty nice. On the first of the month, over a third of our rent is paid. So
That is the preferred method as well.
okay, yes, I was asking you, since you said hopefully you have the final decision, how long are you finding that you're filling your vacancies?
that's a tough question to answer, because it's going to depend on the property and the rent. And so one of our guarantees is we guarantee we'll rent once your property up within 21 days.
You controlling the rent rates as well?
Exactly.
Wow, how about that? Okay, all right.
We're the ones, we take total control. We determine what's rent ready, right? And we determine the rent. And you have to allow pets. If you think about it, it's been a fact for a number of years that over 70% of property owners, of families have a pet. So when you say no pets, you just eliminated 70% of the market. That's one of our guarantees. If you're concerned about the pets, we will take that risk for the pets. Now, granted, there's a caveat to that. Pet fee and pet rent, we're going to keep that. But if that pet damages your property over and above the normal security deposit, we will pay to have that repaired up to $2,000. Again, the idea is we want to get your property rented.
I don't have a question, I'm just making a general statement. I use a property manager. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah.
This general statements, I use a property manager. I don't have anything to do with who they put in, I don't care. That's why I hire them. So if there's a problem, then you can always fire the property manager. I don't want, but there's so much more than not getting the phone calls at 2 a.m. Unless you've got a lot of properties and you've got an air conditioning guy that you can call in the middle of July, most of them are just gonna say, yeah, we'll get to you in a week or so. A property manager, they usually have people that will get out there right away. Where other times you're gonna call and you might not get somebody out there because they're busy and you're not their priority. They're also, from my personal opinion, this is all my opinion, they know the market better than I do. And if you're full-time, then maybe you're okay. I'm not a full-time, I don't even consider myself a landlord. I'm a property owner. I don't deal with this stuff all the time. They know the market. I say, I want to get X amount, and I've had my property manager said, oh no, I can get you more than that. They know the market. They know what areas are better than other areas. So I'm just saying, if you like managing your own properties, fine. I want nothing to do with that. And what they said, the 10% a month and 100%, that's pretty standard from what I've seen. So I would just say, and I'm not recommending anybody, I'm just saying the right property manager, as far as I'm concerned, is worth every penny you pay them.
So the gentleman sitting next to you over here with orange shirt, what was his name? Mike. Mike was talking to us earlier, and he said he's got he doesn't want to deal with that because he's got other things to do, he wants to move on, right? And just, park manager can handle it, they're not dealing with tenants, not dealing with vendors.
Someone has a question.
But one of the things that we do is, because this is what we do, we're always looking for ways to improve, things to improve. Things to improve for the owners, things to improve for the tenants. Things change. When I first started 15 years ago, people were coming to the door paying rent. Things changed. Now they pay online. There's a cost for that, and a cost for the system to make it available to them to go online and put in their maintenance request to make their payments. We're looking at other platforms, other products to make it easier for maintenance, make it easier for inspections, make it easier. We talked about the 360 pictures. We're kind of failing on that because the technology that we've been using is already getting old. So I'm looking right now at another platform that's going to do those 360 pictures and actually have a walkthrough. But again, that's a cost. But we're doing this because we want to rent your property. People nowadays are looking for properties online. When I first started, we still had owners putting properties in the newspaper, and it's a different market, and you have to evolve. And that's what we do. We're constantly staying up to date with what's going on. Stacy and I go to the Realtor Conference 3 times a year, Missouri Realtors. We're, again, involved with the National Association of Residential Property Managers. I've learned a lot from that, learned a lot from them. So it's just, one of the silliest things that seems so simple to me now is that move in, we used to meet the tenant, sign the lease, go through the property, do their inspection, give them the keys. Somebody at one of these meetings go, Airbnb doesn't do that. They give them the code. So now we're set up that we do everything online, they sign the lease, they pay the deposit, they pay the rent. Once we have all that, we give them the code to get in and they can move in when they want. We don't have to meet them there. They can move in at midnight if they want, or the weekend if they want. These are the things that we learned that we do. Yeah.
Okay, we got 2 more questions here online. First one is, she wants to know, would you go to eviction court with tenants? First one.
Yes, we do. We handle the eviction from start to finish. We contact the attorney, we file with the attorney, and if it does get to court, we will go and sit down at court on behalf of the owner.
So if there's a disadvantage to hiring a manager as opposed to doing it yourself, Missouri law says that because I'm a company, I have to have an attorney, and so that's the cost to you. We've negotiated with our attorneys for a pretty good price for evictions. And actually that cost is paid by the tenant. Whether we get it or not is a different story. We've had tenants that come in after several years going, I've got this on my record, I need to get it paid off, and I'd like to pay you, which in turn we will turn around and pay it to you. We've actually had owners that we don't manage for them anymore, but the filing is with us, so they owe us money. I'll track down that owner and give them their money. That's their money, not my money. The bad part about that is that Missouri Real Estate Commission says I cannot take money from anybody unless I have a contract with them, their client. If they've left me as a client, I can no longer take my management fee because they're not a client of mine, so they get the whole thing.
Thank you. And the next question is, what property management platform do you use, and are owners able to log in and look at the details?
We use Appfolio. We also use Property Meld for maintenance. Owners can get on and see copies of leases and their monthly statements, but they're not able to see live statements. It's just a monthly statement and you can reference back, I think it's 2 years. So anytime you want to go back and look at a statement from 4 months ago, you can get on your owner portal and go back and check it out.
Okay. Parker? Okay, Adrian.
So you're in the market all the time. How do you handle, like every year, do you increase the rent for the people that you manage for the renters, or how do you look at what the rent should be?
So again, we know the market, we know where we can raise the rent, and if we can, we do. There's a philosophy that it's a good tenant, I don't wanna raise the rent. My philosophy that's, I'm not gonna do that for you because it's your property, it's not mine. The other thing I look at is that, because honestly, I did this myself on a property that I personally owned, that I bought the house, tenant moved in, they were there for 13 years, right? Good tenants that paid rent on time, I didn't keep the rent up. Guess what, they moved out, and after 13 years, full remodel,
Yes,
right? Everything's dated.
we just had the same thing happen to us.
Yeah, so I lost out on all that income over the years because I want to be nice to them.
Right,
So I say, raise the rent if you want to keep it below market, because it's just below market, but that's not helping you. The other point of that is, if you sell an investment property, the buyer is going to look at what the rent is, and they're not going to look at what it could be. It's what the rent is. That's what it's good. So you've lost that by not increasing the rent. You know, I understand wanting to treat the tenants nice, but you're not a charity, you're a business. And that's the big thing about looking at this business, is it's a business, it's not a hobby. That's what a property manager does. We don't negotiate with tenants. If they, you know, they might come to you and say, oh, I can't pay a full rent this month, and you have soft heart. We don't do that. I don't have a soft heart. It's not my money, right? And we can't do that. Here's the rules. We gotta stick by the rules. I mean, we're not cold-hearted, but if a tenant if they miss their rent, rent is due on the 1st. On the 5th, if it's not paid on the 6th, late fees.
late fees, and so you enforce the late fees.
We enforce
then?
late fees. We might, you know, before you've been on time for the past 3 years, and all of a sudden something happened, we understand we can waive late fees one time. But we will contact them if they're still late, saying you have 5 days to pay the rent, or come up with some reason why you can't, a valid reason. Then we might do a payment plan with them, but it's not gonna let them get behind on rent. If you don't complete that payment plan, it's automatically going to eviction.
Yeah, so you're training them to do the right thing.
We do charge, we do keep half the late fees. Yeah, and the reasoning is, we're the one doing the work to get them paid, right? So that's more cost to us, so it's an advantage to still do this. And if you think about it, if I don't pay you till the 15th, if they pay on the 10th, it's not late to you anyway, so.
Yeah, another question, you know, I know as far as raising the rent, that seems like a good idea, but, you know, if you have a tenant and they move after a year because they didn't want the rent raised, and then you've got to go in there and paint it, maybe recarpet, all of that kind of thing, you were actually losing a lot of money because of maybe $100 a month rent raise.
If you're raising above market rent, right? If a tenant is paying $1,000 here, right? And are they gonna move for another $20 to save $20?
Yeah.
That's the idea. If they move, they're gonna pay market rent.
And typically, we aren't raising $100
No.
unless we acquire a property that's significantly under market rent. We're typically only doing $25, $35, and most tenants aren't gonna move over $25 a month.
So
So it is an annual increase built into the lease?
no, it's not built in the lease. We do 3 months before the lease expires, we run a report and we check out what the market is doing at that time, right? It's not automatic. We look at it and make a decision based on that. So going back to what she was saying, this did happen to me. We got a new owner, acquired apartment building. Everybody was paying way below rent, way below market. That's not good for our owner. So here's what we did. We didn't want to scare off the tenant. We let them know that their rent's gonna go up to market, and we gave them the schedule. After so many months, it's gonna be this. So it didn't hurt them, and it didn't surprise them when the rent got to market. So it was a benefit to the tenant. They knew they were getting by all this time paying a low rent, and they knew they couldn't pay, that they're not gonna get a better deal somewhere else, and we took care of our owner.
One other question, as far as vendors, contractors, do you give a breakdown of like labor and materials on that, so we know what's going on as far as maintenance goes, or how do we know about the maintenance part of it?
I need my maintenance manager here to tell you exactly how he does that.
Our specific, if they're in, which this is mainly down south, but our invoices in-house do break down materials and labor. If we have to contract out, you would get a copy of the invoice.
No, not necessarily, because we mark it up. So I don't know how he does it, because we have our markup on it.
No, but you still get a
Yeah,
copy of,
yeah,
you would get a copy of the invoice,
Just the total,
whatever the invoice said. So, you know, so-and-so came to fix the AC unit, you're gonna get their copy of that invoice.
Anybody else? I got a little question. You said you give monthly reports. Do you also do a end of the year summary? So make it easy for doing our taxes.
Yeah, so you're gonna get the annual statement, it's gonna be from the beginning to the end of the year, and you also get, you get the cash flow, 1099 and cash flow statement, and that'll break it down to what you're paying for. So if it's gonna be something you can depreciate, it's gonna be there, so you can see it.
Okay, good. So it'll be easy to report to hand off to our
Pass right over to your accountant,
to our accountant.
That's what I do, I just
Yep.
Why do I ask that? What's it, is April 18th today, isn't it?
Yes.
I hope everybody's got their taxes. If not, stop by the post office on your way out.
Hi there, I got a question on there about the last year here, how rents across the country now have risen dramatically, but yet now are retreating and all that there. How have you all handled that?
So it's, obviously, that's a unique situation, and we only had so many tenants that affected, whether it be existing tenants or putting a property on the market. So I'm one of those, I have one of my properties that, rent went way up, that's the market, we're going for it, and we got it. And I'm going, okay, what's gonna happen when that lease ends and price came back down? They're gonna look at, so get back to that situation of market value. So we're gonna see next year when those leases end. We did not, again, we're not gonna increase the rent dramatically to a tenant to scare them away, right? If it's cost less for them to move than to stay, that doesn't work out for anybody. And again, keep in mind, I don't get paid unless you get paid, so I don't want vacancies, and I don't want tenants moving out, so.
Have you had many of those rent reductions in the past year on a lot of your properties?
No, that window of when rents went up was narrow, and so those people are still in place with leases existing, so we're gonna see what happens the year after that.
Do you do just 1-year leases, or what kind of leases do you?
Yeah, we do 1-year lease, and then they have an option to go month to month.
After that?
Yeah, after that, but we do incentivize them to do a new lease, because the rent rate is gonna be different if they go month to month than if they do a lease.
About MSD, the sewage, because normally that stays in the owner's name.
It does, it has to be in the owner's name, right? We get the bill, we'll pay the bill, and we add that to the tenant's ledger. It's a simple item for us to enter it, and the bill comes in, enter it. Owner does have to pay it, but we get that from the tenant. And it will show up on your statement. I've had owners argue with me that the tenant should be paying it. They are paying it, but they're paying it to you.
Okay, who's got the next one?
Do you guys send out specific market reports per request? Like if we want to move into a different area? If you guys have all this data, let's say I want to move into a new city, can you guys give me a report on that city for potential?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, we
The
can.
rental analysis?
Yeah.
Yep, we do those for free.
Okay.
So that, again, that's one of the advantages as of me being a broker and us being a real estate company. So we do sales. We don't help people buy and sell their homes. We will if somebody asks us. I'm not gonna walk away from commission, but most of our sales is with investors, our current clients or our new clients want us to help them either sell something that's not performing like they want to, or they want to increase their portfolio. One of the great things about that, as opposed to being a salesperson, is that the typical homeowner, it used to be 7 years, buys a new property every 7 years, that lives up to 10 years now. A good investor is going to say, this is working out well, let's go find another one. And so we'll get another sale within the year.
Yeah, with what you're saying, you are licensed realtors in Missouri, and you use Missouri contracts for these?
No, we have our own lease.
Okay,
We do use Missouri Realtors property management agreement.
okay, now, do you use the agency laws with this? You're representing us, the owners?
Yes,
Not the tenants with that?
right. It's
Good,
we disclose that in the lease. It's required by real estate commission that we disclose our agency.
okay. And we can, how do you say, with your attorneys or our attorneys, we can put in any clauses, what we need, or?
Now, here's a problem with that. Every time we make a change, right, we have to make it for everybody. So for example, we just talked about the marijuana issue. So we're going to be adding in our lease that you cannot grow on your property, right? So there's different rules with the law of how you can grow, where you can grow. It's got to be in a private, single-family home, fenced in, where it can't be seen, right? So we actually do ask the owner if it's okay with you to let them grow it, right? But we have to put in our lease. So that's brand new. Now we have all these leases. We have like 2 templates for our leases, and it's going to be, so the tenant applies, they're in our system, we have all their information. When we approve them, boom, it prints up, completes the lease, and it moves on. Now we've got to keep track of how many of our tenants have the lease with the marijuana line in it, rule in it, and how many don't. And so that next year, we've got to send in an amendment saying, here's an addition to your lease. So it's real difficult to make changes to the lease and have different leases for different people.
But it is all slanted towards mostly with the landlord and not the tenants.
Absolutely, absolutely. We got to be fair, right? We're trying to be fair, but we're protecting you. We have fiduciary responsibility to you. Does not mean we can not be fair to the tenants, but we have fiduciary responsibility with the owners.
Because we're worried about, they can speak for a lot of people out here, that we're worried about getting paid. We're not worried about being fair.
Absolutely.
I think you want to do that, you go get one of Dwayne's properties.
And again, that's why I say, I don't get paid unless you get paid. So it doesn't do no good. People say, oh, you make so much money on application fees. I don't. It's not my business to have people apply and turn them down. It's my business to get your property rented and bring income into you.
My question is, what's your policy towards Section 8?
It depends on different things. It depends on whether we have to accept it or not, and it depends on if you want to accept it or not. Yes. So we're at, what's that? Is it in St. Louis, the city itself?
I think the city, you have to
Yeah.
allow it. I don't know for sure, but I think in the city of St. Louis, you have to allow Section
So
8.
at the real estate conference we were at this past week, we actually had somebody he was the regional manager for HUD.
Mhm.
And he said people that have rental properties should not be afraid to rent to people that take Section 8 because they're good people. My issue is not with the people, because they have to be screened anyway. Yeah, they might be good people, but it's dealing with HUD and with the things that, right? We've got one right now where, holy cow, one of them had one of my employees in tears, literally crying. So, no, it's somebody from the
Someone in
office.
the office.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's my issue with HUD, not the people. Trust me, it's not the people, great people. And when we get paid, it's great to have the money, but it's going through all the, jumping through the hoops to get things done.
And the last question is, you honor the current lease that's in place, and then when the lease expires and has to be renewed, that's when yours kicks in, correct?
We asked them to sign a new lease.
But it'll be your template.
Right, yeah. But we don't, so if we come in and they have 6 months left on the lease, we'll ask them to sign a new lease for that 6 months, right? And then after that 6 months, we'll ask them, we'll try to do another year.
How do you deal with the lease purchase or lease option property?
I'm sorry, say that again.
How do you deal with the lease option or lease purchase property?
We don't do that.
You don't do that?
No.
So we have to evict the tenant and then give it to you?
We can talk about it.
Anybody else? Yes?
As property owners, they already take into consideration of operating expenses and so forth, and property management is one of those. When you have repeat calls of a tenant, let's say, for example, the changing of the seasons, temperatures, and I'm paying $174 for somebody on your team to run out there and find out that it's only a matter of flipping the switch from hot to cool or from cool to hot, and we're still paying high fees. At what point do you decide that because it was batteries, that's a tenant responsibility, what do you do in that situation?
Tenant responsibility, we charge it for it.
So you do charge them?
Absolutely.
And you apply that to rents that they've already are bringing in, and then how is that?
So that's not income that you're getting, it's repayment, right? So we don't get management fees on top of that, right? So then it goes on their ledger, so when they pay their rent, they pay their $1,000 and the $85 or whatever it is for the service call. That's on their ledger, they pay. You will see it, but you'll see it's an expense and an income from them.
And then also, what incentives do you have for those that or do you have any incentives for any of your clients where if the tenant pays on time, for example, come the end of the year, you give them a discount on rent because they promptly paid every month for that year? Do you have anything like that?
We do not. That would be up to you, and then we would have to have that in writing from you. I cannot do that with the tenant without your permission. Real estate commission would come in and say, why'd you do that? We had an owner that once a year he wanted to give us, thought we did a great job, wanted to give us a little cash bonus, and he said, just keep this much money out of my payment. Unless you have it in writing, I can't do that. I'm not gonna do that. So that's the other thing so real estate commission says you cannot do giveaways. So I cannot say first month free, right? You have to tell me to do that, and you have to put it in writing for me to do that. So that's, I forgot what exact term that is.
One more question. When it comes to tenant applications, tenants coming in, how much are you interacting with them rather than online digital applications being accepted? And in other words, we keep getting expired identification cards, or it not be the true person that they're running a background check on. You say you run all these services through CaseNet and media and so forth. When one slips through the process, it can be pretty costly. How are we protected when it turns out to be a failure in your background check, or the services or the third vendor that you're using to do those background checks?
I can't guarantee it, right? We do the best we can. Face-to-face interaction is when we do the showing. They have to supply their driver's license in order to even schedule the showing, so we know that that's the person we're dealing with, and we do the best that we can. One of the tricks that I learned is that when they tell me who the landlord is, when we do an interview with the landlord, we ask them out of the blue, we check county records. When we check county records, where does the tax bill go to? And that's our way of knowing that it's not their friend, because their friend's not gonna know where that tax bill goes to. They might hem and haw and do something, but then we actually do go back and check county records to make sure that's that's accurate. So we have a lot of ways of checking it, and again, we get a couple hundred applications a month. So it's not 100% every time. I wish I could say we never evicted, every tenant is great, but guess what, they surprise you.
You do, they always will.
Yeah,
Thank you.
but, so all investments are a risk. You do what you can to minimize risk, and I think what we do really helps with that.
Okay, so you mentioned you do a credit, check. Are you concerned with score, or are you concerned with history?
I'm concerned with history.
Okay.
Right, because I look at, if you're not paying your 3 cell phones, if you're not paying your utilities, you're not gonna pay me. If you have 1 or 2 things in collections, because we like, for example, medical, a lot of people have medical bills. Unless it's really exorbitant, we're gonna say, okay, that's okay, we understand that's gonna happen.
And on your question about the incentives for the tenants paying rent on time, we just started a new program to where if the tenants sign up for it, if they pay their rent on time, it will reflect on their credit score. So that's a great thing that we're offering tenants that not a lot of investors or property managers offer. They pay a fee up front, and then they could go back all the way back for 2 years and report that they pay their rent on time, and it'll help their credit score.
One of the other things one of our new offerings is that we're working with a company called SureVestor. It's an insurance plan, costs you $495, I think it's $495 a year. $465, thank you. And it covers things like, it'll pay for the evictions, it'll cover for lost rent, it'll cover for property damage, malicious damage caused by the tenant. So that's one option that we have that you have to go through a property manager to get. You cannot get that on your own. So. Other caveat, it's got to be, rent has to be at least $1,000.
Okay, anybody else?
John's got one.
Oh, John.
Okay, got another one here online. After the tenant moves in, do you ever inspect the property for living conditions, compliance with the lease, and/or make sure that no illegal or extra occupants have moved in?
We try our best. We really do. It's very difficult to do some of these things. And one of the things that I know a lot of people are get upset about is if the place is messy. I'm not concerned about if the place is messy. I'm concerned about if they're damaging the place. Messy can be cleaned up. It's holes in the walls and kids scribbling on the doors and things like that. That's an issue. We have had, just again, it's my own property. One of the kids went outside and spray painted on the wall. The tenant actually was very apologetic and took care of it themselves. So. One of the things that we offer you is preventative maintenance, and that we will change the filters, whatever frequency you want. Best part of that's our chance to get in the property and see how things are. Yeah. Yeah, it's a preventative maintenance program. It's X number of dollars per
filter per unit. Yeah. But also we have relationships with our vendors where if they go in the property and anything stands out to them, they come back and tell us, like, and it'll say on their maintenance ticket if they have a pet or not. So if they walk in and it says no pets and there's 2 dogs there, they're gonna call us and say, hey, they have pets.
So the property owner doesn't allow pets. You're very specific in lease that this property does not allow pets. If we catch with the pet, it's a $500 fine and possibly termination of the lease. See, all these things we learned and put in our lease, so after all the years going on and on. Yes, sir. No, sir. If you want our 21-day guarantee that we guarantee will put somebody in place within 21 days, has to accept pets.
Pets, especially, a little concerned about pets, especially if you have carpet, that could be a major issue.
Again, that's why we still offer the pet guarantee, right? So the caveat again is that we charge a one-time non-refundable pet fee and a pet rent every month if they pay something. And we calculate that based on, she said we do pet screening. We do pet screening. We have a company that does pet screening. They come back and tell us, what to charge for, or not what to charge, but how they rate that pet, and we base the pet rent based on that. If you want the pet guarantee, I keep the pet rent.
But that, up to $2,000 beyond the normal security deposit. Yeah, so if you add it up, you have $25 a month, that's what, $250 a year? So it's either take that $250 or we take it and cover you up to $2,000.
That's different.
That's a different guarantee. That's the 21-day rental guarantee that we will have it rented in 21 business days, which is a month. But you have to allow pets. It has to be moved and ready. It has to be inspected and passed by the city, all of that.
So we need
And
to
we
use a
have to set the
microphone,
rate.
otherwise the people in Zoom can't hear you.
So, that 21-day guarantee, is that an extra cost? No.
Nope, no
Okay.
cost to you.
Okay. This is caveat, you just gotta allow pets in order to get that guarantee.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, and it has to be move-in ready, and we set the rent price.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. But you guys get it moved and ready though, right?
What was that?
You get it moved and ready, right?
Yeah.
If something goes vacant, okay, all right.
Yep.
Okay.
Anybody else?
I got a question for you. Actually, I got three. What's your worst experience from a tenant? What did you end up doing to them? What would you want to do to them?
Oh gosh, let me pick one.
Pick the worst, come on.
Yeah,
Pick
I'm
the
trying
worst.
to think.
I think the worst situation I ever ran into was, and this is why we don't put a property on the market with a tenant in there. I know a lot of people, some people do. The tenant gave the notice, they start marketing right away. We don't do that. Here's my main reason we don't do that. This happened to me. We did that, we put the property on the market. Tenants gave notice, we're gonna move out on this day. We had a tenant, we had someone come and take the property, look at the property, says, yes, I'll take it. That was a soldier's mother. The soldier was overseas, he was due to come home, he was on his way home. The tenant said, we're not moving, we're staying. So, there's ways to get that tenant out, there's things you can do, but they were on their way. And they had a pet, had to find a place, a lot of pets, it was a nightmare. And it made us look totally unprofessional, really bad, and I felt that. This is a soldier we're doing this to. So I don't want to do that again. And we don't market it when the tenant's in place for a number of reasons. One, have to fight with the tenant to let us in, they might argue with us and might whatever. Two, the property might need some work, and when we tell the prospective tenant, this is what we're gonna do to the property, they have something envisioned in their mind, right? And then they come back and say, this is not what I thought it was gonna be. So it's not a good idea to do that.
Do we wear out the questions?
Folks, there's another one.
One more.
Have you guys looked into midterm
Rentals.
Midterm rentals.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about short-term lease,
Midterm, so there's difference.
okay.
Short term's like Airbnb.
No,
Midterms.
No, because when I say short-term lease, I say less than a year. So we do that,
Yes.
but We really only offer that on apartments, because apartments have turnover anyway. And short-term lease, the rent's gonna be higher.
That's my interest in the midterm, right? So a strategy is like traveling nurses. Would you guys manage that?
Those are like 3 to
That's-
6 months.
Yeah, that's something totally different, and we have tried to do that work with people that we had the leases with somebody else. As long as we know who's going in there, we're okay with that, as long as somebody's paying the lease. So we've had that with construction companies where they have a big project, and the construction company's paying for it, but they had their crews move in and out, and we're okay with that, as long as somebody's gonna be responsible and we know who's in there. The reason we wanna do that is because we wanna protect the neighbors, and we don't want a sex offender, we don't want a criminal background in there, right? So we have to protect the neighbors, and so as long as we know who's in there, somebody's paying the rent, we're good.
Okay, yeah, because like Furnish Finder is basically traveling professionals.
Right.
So there's a huge market out there, especially in St. Louis, for those midterm, 3 to 6 month
Right.
leases. And they're like 30% higher than a long-term lease,
Absolutely.
so.
Yeah, and the reason I say we don't typically do that on a single-family home, because that's a little more work, a little more wear and tear on the house. Again, apartments, there's turnover in apartments all the time anyway, so. I mean, we could, if that's what the owner wants to do, then we could do that, but that's our general policy for midterm leases, so.
Okay,
John,
got no one online, okay.
Another one here, how do you handle applicant with emotional support animal who refuses to pay pet fees?
You cannot charge pet fees for emotional support animal. Bottom line, it's not a pet. It's no different than a wheelchair. One of the things that we do, because it used to be people would go online and get a certificate saying this is an emotional support animal. So HUD finally came out with some guidelines, right? And it's not the pet, it's the person that needs the support animal, or emotional support animal, or the service animal, and there's differences. So because it's such a difficult thing to do, we actually hired that out. That's that background check that we do. We don't make that determination. We hire this company, they have doctors, attorneys, they know the laws, they figure it out. They tell us whether this is a support animal. So you have to accept them. It's not an animal, it's not a pet. Like I said, it's like, think of it as a wheelchair. You can't tell them you can't move in with a wheelchair. You can't tell them you can't move in with their support animal.
Okay,
Thanks for this opportunity. The questions have been great. I really appreciate them. We've been doing this for a long time. If you think about it, how many thousands of tenants have we had? That's the big thing about the experience we're talking about. I think I've had more tenants than you have, had more issues to deal with than you have. So that's the biggest thing. We have the experience. We've been through it all. Doesn't mean that we're not going to be surprised by something new. We understand the laws, and we're very active in the Realtor Association in NARPM. That's how we keep track of what we're on. In our calls every week, we're going to have an attorney on this Friday. So St. Louis Realtors, their government affairs group, have been very good about working with this group and everybody else on making sure that we're educated on what it is and finding things that aren't working right, that aren't in everybody's best interest. So again, thank you very much.
thank you. We appreciate you coming on. Yeah, and that's what we're about, education, and we appreciate your educational value you added to us tonight. Okay, we're ready for our haves and wants. Let's start out. JM Real Estate Capital, you give another voice